Reese. You know, we had to, you know, get in your space for a second. We wanted to talk a little bit about legacy.
Yes.
And, you know, obviously with you being a pillar here in the city of Columbus and being in ministry as long as you have, and we're sitting in a beautiful edifice at this point, but we want to rewind a little bit and go back to, you know, kind of where this all started.
Yeah. Well, one thing, first of all, before I say that, let me say how much I appreciate both of you. And I say that all the time. The last time we were together on the radio, and I talked about how much I admire and respect both of you, and my estimation has not changed with those years. And I'm not just saying it to say it. I think you're two of the finest young men in our city. And what you're doing, you belong to a great church, you got a great pastor, other than me, of course, but you have a great pastor, and you really modeled that. So I'm glad to do it, and excited both for you and about our time together today.
We appreciate that, Bishop.
Thank
There's a lot coming from you.
Yes, sir. Well, you know, I always tell people what you see now is not what was. I've been in ministry. I started preaching in 1974. And so, yeah, a lot of people weren't even born then. That's when it's scary, you know, when you're preaching longer than people have been born. And started out, this is not my first church. My first church was in Warren, Ohio, which is northeastern Ohio. And then we came here, we served there for 4 years. Then we came here, not a large church, it was less than 100 members over on Wilson and Fair in an old building, and I stress old. Literally, people don't believe, they think I'm saying it as, you know, a joke. It literally had bats in it. So that it never happened on Sunday morning. I don't know whether bats are nocturnal or what. I don't know whether, but they only in the evening. We used to have evening service.
Right.
These bats would come out of where the old pipe organ was, and we had deacons. Several of them are dead now, but we had these deacons, and they would try to kill the bats with brooms. This is all our churches. This is what I came. So I tell people, man, when you drive up here, don't be hating on it.
Right.
I preached with bats. So don't, I mean, I think I deserve something.
Right, absolutely.
I face bats, you know. Paul said he faced, you know, the beast in Ephesus. I face bats.
Bishop, you, I mean, your ministry's blossomed, obviously. There's a lot of young preachers in the city. They look up to you, including me and myself and Reese. And, you know, the married ones. We're married. I have a wife, I have 2 daughters, and I look at your life from afar, and I see, you know, the things that you have been able to do as far as balance the ministry and your marriage and your family life. What advice would you give someone like you?
Yeah, let me answer that by first saying one of the things that I am really excited about right now in this season of my life are the young pastors in this city. Now they're not getting a lot of play yet, but there's some strong young preachers standing up and throwing down. They're doing both of them. They're standing up and they're throwing down some solid word in this city. And man, I don't want to start naming names, but I mean, there are some young bucks who are coming up who are going to do some good stuff in this city. And it's exciting. It really is. It's exciting for me to spend time with them, do lunch with them. Sometimes they'll come by the office and sit around for an hour and we'll talk to see what they're doing, to see where their heart and their head is. Because in leadership is both head and heart. And sad to say, some leaders focus on what? Keep my heart right, stay warm, emotional.
Right.
Others intellectual, you know, I got, you know, my cranium is right. Others, my heart is right. But it's a mixture of head and heart.
That's good.
And actually, it's a triumvirate. It's head, heart, and hand. all of that makes a leader. I do a thing sometimes when I travel on the hand of a leader, the heart of a leader, the head of a leader. Because it's only when a leader cultivates all three of those that he or she is able to really make the impact and to last, because they are incorporating every gift and talent that God has given to them, all the resources. So I'm excited about these young preachers, men and women. Got some preaching sisters out there too, boy. Let me tell you, you brothers better watch out. Some of them is even hooping. They be tuning up. But I look back and I think, I heard Andy Stanley say something that I think was so important, and I wish I had said it first so he could give me credit for it. But I got to give him credit for it. He said it first. He said one time, everybody cheats. You just got to decide who you're going to cheat on and what you're going to cheat with. Everybody cheats. Some men cheat on their wives, some women cheat on their husbands. Some preachers cheat on the church. Some people cheat on their schedule, but you're going to cheat. So you got to ask, what is my main priority? And I may have to cheat over here, so which means if I'm going to be home with my family a certain number of evenings a week, then that may mean I can't hang with my preacher friends every night of the week. You know, I have to cheat on that for my friendship over here. I may not be able to go to all the revivals every night. If it's a 3-night, I may only make one. I got to cheat. Because if I make all 3, then I'm cheating over here. Everybody's going to cheat. You just have to make sure you're cheating for the right thing, on the right thing, at the right time. Because balance, to me, and my wife and I have this discussion. You know, I tell people we don't argue, we have heated discussions and intense times of fellowship. We don't never argue. Intense times of fellowship. But you know, she and I talk about this, about balance. I don't think, if you look at the 1% of people in any field who really excel, they don't have balance. A Tiger Woods in golf, a Michael Jordan or LeBron, a Stefan, don't have balance. You look at a guy like Steve Jobs, or you look at a Denzel or Will Smith. You look at a Bishop Jakes or a Noel Jones or a Bishop Watkins, and on the list, a Charles Booth, or this and that. Those guys don't have balance. Great preachers aren't always the best at some other stuff because they give the preponderance of their time to the development of their preaching craft.
That makes sense.
And that seems imbalanced. Well, you ought to do this, you ought to. Yeah. But Paul said, this one thing I do. That's not balance. This one thing, you're going to do one thing. That is not balance.
Right.
It's not balance. So I think sometimes balance is overstated. I think you find your passion and you give yourself wholly to that, fully to that. Back to the cheating, which means there's some things you won't do. I told this story to my deacons. We had a church come up from Dayton, brought their leadership up, and met with myself and our diaconate board. So I got to, you know, sort of teach both of them together. And I was telling the story about a friend of mine. He's deceased now. He was a great preacher. He won the preaching award in seminary, and just a great preacher. Died way too soon. But he didn't visit a lot, and he didn't do a lot of the other stuff. So he had this older guy who was his minister of visitation. So he said one day, his minister of visitation went to visit somebody, and they said, "Oh, Reverend," they called his name. Said, "It's nice of you to be here." He said, "You know, I just wish sometimes the pastor would come see me. Nothing against you. I'm glad you're here. I just wish sometimes my pastor would come and see me." So he said, his minister visitation. He said, yeah, I know. He said, can I ask you a question? I said, yes. He said, you ever heard Pastor preach? I said, yeah. I said, oh my God, that he can preach. And she just went on and on and on. He said, you ever heard me preach? She just kind of hung her head because she had. She said, yeah, that's the difference. She said, he preaches like that because I come here and see you. And I preach like I preach because I come see you.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
If he came and saw everybody who was sick, he wouldn't preach like he preaches. Everybody has a role. And so, I don't know, balance is what you look for. I think what you look for is passion, priorities, perspective. You get those 3 P's. Your passion. Family ought to be your passion, ought to be your priority, and you should have the proper perspective of them. Once you get that in place, it'll make time. It'll make, but if you try to, okay, I can get 3.2 hours here, 3.2, that's not going to happen.
Right.
And you'll never be great at anything. People who are great at anything commit themselves to it. So whether it's Jordan shooting 100 baskets, or whether it's Tiger hitting 1,000 golf balls at, before he goes to school at 11.
Right.
All the stuff we hear, it's all real. It's all real. A Bishop Jakes, a Noel Jones, was Joyce Myers, a Melissa Farrow. I'm talking about some younger ones. Their preaching is their preaching because they eat and sleep it all the time. You're around them. If you ever get around them, and you're around these people, you ever get around them, they talk preaching. Everything. You go to lunchroom, they can't even read the menu. But look at that, Doc, let me show you this, Doc. Doc, this is a preach right here. Eggs and ham will preach, okay. Okay. But everything they see, a box of cereal, they see preaching in it. And that ain't balanced.
Right. See, preaching in everything.
In everything.
See, Reese, he's been preaching since 1975.
74. Yeah.
And Reese wants to preach as great as you, but he's only been preaching for a few years.
Well, you know that old Miles Mabley joke about the guy in New York who walks up to a fella who is carrying a musical case.
Yeah.
And he says to the guy, because he knows he's in the area, he just doesn't know how to get to his place. He says, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? And the guy looked back and said, practice, baby.
Practice.
Get back in that book.
Get back in that book, buddy. Get back in that book. Yes.
So now we see coming up a lot now, pastors transitioning, retiring, I guess. We can call it. And so obviously for us, we came up on the Bishop Watkins, Bishop Clarke, Bishop Tillman, the preachers here in the city, Bishop Jerome Ross.
Yeah.
And now we see that, like Bishop Ross retired. And, Pastor Moore, I think, is, headed that same direction. What's your take on that piece as far as just like retiring, or at what time is a good time?
That's good. Let me say that the landscape of our city is changing. And it's bittersweet. You look around and you realize a lot of the men who were so active when I hit this town are either inactive or they've gone to sleep. That's sad. You miss their voices, you miss their ministry, but it's also a good time because they're leaving either in retirement or transition, makes room for the next generation. It's the Moses Joshua thing. Moses, my servant, is dead. Now you get up and take the people over into Canaan. So I've seen a lot of that, but it's normal and it's natural. I think it was Dr. Gardner Calvin Taylor said one time something very profound. He said, God does not linger long at the funerals of those he uses. Doesn't linger long. He loves them and then he buries them. And then the church moves on. And I think we're seeing that now. As their men getting older. Now, as to when to do it, I think it's different for everyone. It's different. I don't think, I was funny we're having this conversation, because I met with my diaconate board this past weekend. I do a monthly meeting with them. And I was talking to them about the fact that we have to all get ready for transition. And I'm asking now, I told the trustees this, I meet with the trustees tonight. I normally do the same week with the deacons on Saturday, trustees on Tuesday night. And it's so funny. I was saying to them, I said, we gotta start talking about my shelf life. They were like, what? And I said, there's an expiration date on everything on the shelf. Now here's the thing about it. I don't know how y'all are, but my wife, if it says good until December 12th, 2017, December 16th, she throwing it out. Now I'll try to tell her, it really don't mean that. You don't really need to buy that, because she ain't eating it. Everything, but here's why, because it may still be good, but if there's an expiration date on it, it means the longer it sits on this shelf, it loses its potency. It won't kill you, but it won't bless you the same either. And I think sometimes as pastors, we got to be careful we don't stay on that shelf too long. Our expiration date, so I'm still good. Yeah, you ain't gonna kill nobody, but you're not as strong. The taste isn't as strong. The life isn't as strong. So I think every man and woman has to know, what is God saying to me, and when is my season?